I went to a USPSA competition, competed with a stock Glock 19, and scored higher than my friend Corbin. The purpose? To see if USPSA can really help me get better at airsoft, or do I really just need all that expensive gear and everything? Not only did I go to my first USPSA competition, I also went to my indoor field to put airsoft where it performs best, and that's CQB. In today's video, I'll be comparing and contrasting competitive shooting and airsoft to see if the skills you learn in one translate over into the next. Let's get started. So what is USPSA? USPSA stands for United States Practical Shooting Association. Essentially, it's a type of competitive shooting that combines shooting and moving. You're put into stages where you have to shoot a certain number of targets in a certain order as fast as you can while still getting a good hit factor. Minus the time, I see this as being very similar to airsoft. Both USPSA and airsoft put the individual in a simulated environment where you have to engage targets. The difference is, in airsoft, the targets are moving around and they're shooting back. Which brings us to strategy versus reaction. While speed and accuracy in USPSA are very important, they're really nothing without strategy. What do I mean by strategy? Essentially, going through each stage before actually shooting it and mapping out where you're gonna do your reloads, what targets you're gonna shoot first, where can you shoot standing to set yourself up for the best shot. Usually before every single stage, everyone runs it through doing this, mapping out mentally where they're gonna do their reloads, where they're gonna shoot first, etc., etc. Airsoft is more about reacting to the environment than being able to strategize. There's no pre-running through of the course, seeing where the targets are. You just have to react to it. And so in this instance, USPSA and airsoft don't correlate, but they're still putting the shooter in an environment where they have to react to targets and get on target and use their weapon handling skills to take out the target, or also known as weapon manipulation. Shooting with real firearms is the best way to become proficient at handling weapons, as you're dealing with real recoil. I would argue, however, that my skills I've learned in airsoft have carried over into shooting once I began focusing on recoil mitigation. Both USPSA and airsoft put the individual into the same situation. Present your weapon in an effective way as to get on target and send BBs or ammunition downrange at that target. Where USPSA is lacking, however, is the manipulation of cover. Yes, there are simulated walls and barriers, but airsoft really excels in pushing the individual to use that cover to the best of their abilities to protect themselves from the enemy. Looking back at the footage from the airsoft game and the USPSA match, I noticed that I held my pistol closer to my face at the airsoft game than at the match. Now, obviously, I don't want a live firearm shooting chunks of lead at 1,000 feet per second close to my face, but there's no actual repercussions for doing that in an airsoft game. Holding the pistol closer to my face stems from the need to reduce my hitbox, if you will. At the indoor field, some of the cover was not efficient enough that I could fully extend my arms in the way I would traditionally shoot a firearm. If I were to fully extend my arms out in insufficient cover, I could be exposing myself to the enemy, which would get me out of the game. In a real firefight, you really don't want to do that. And the airsoft gun, there's no repercussions from holding it close to my face, which I need to do when cover is insufficient and I can't fully extend my arms. In USPSA, there's no incentive to do this. There's no cover, and why would I risk my face doing that? So there's a disconnect in that airsoft pushes cover and weapon manipulation while USPSA does not emphasize this. Now, both airsoft and USPSA both push footwork, which is very, very important. So not far into my first match, I realized that footwork was very, very important. And unfortunately, it wasn't something we really practiced beforehand. But Essentially, footwork puts you in the best position possible to engage the target, but more importantly, you're not going to fall over and look like an idiot. Airsoft, I would feel like, emphasizes it even more. When in Airsoft, we're working around a lot of corners. This goes back kind of to cover manipulation, but essentially, if my footwork is sloppy, I could end up pushing my feet out farther, and the enemy could see my foot before I'm ready to engage them, and if they haven't already shot my foot, they'll be ready for me to coming around the corner. Now let's talk about possibly the most important thing in both USPSA and Airsoft, and where I feel like they correlate the most, and that is reloads. Counter to popular belief, if you've been raised on TVs and movies, surprisingly you do have to reload because your magazine doesn't hold 100,000 rounds and that you're going to run out of ammunition. To me, whether you're doing USPSA or Airsoft, if you do one or the other, it's going to carry over into the other one. If you're using the same kit you're going to be using, then it's the same movement. Everything's where it should be. Now, these are kind of minor things I feel like, but there is some disconnect. Let me get a magazine. Airsoft magazines gain their weight from their metal construction versus Glock magazines, which gain their weight from the ammunition they're loaded with. While they weigh the same when fully loaded, the issue is that a Airsoft magazine is more apt to drop free because it already weighs a lot when empty, versus an empty Glock magazine, which weighs significantly less. So the forces of gravity are going to push less on it. Now, right there, it didn't seem like much, but it can sometimes be an issue, or at least when you're rushing and trying to get on. Now, one thing my good friend Hunter pointed out is a lot of people want to come in and they want to flick the magazine. Now, oftentimes it does work and is effective, but sometimes what can happen is it creates friction when you do that between the magazine and the mag well, and it can actually prevent you from doing a quicker reload. So it's best just to have the mag well pointed down towards the ground and just do that really, really quick. Now, one last issue that is not really replicated in my SSP-18, and it's kind of a pain in the neck, is that there's this little plastic piece in the grip of my 19 that does a great job of catching the rim of 9mm casing, and that cost me some time in the match. I've managed to practice mitigating this, but I do have to be careful that I don't get that caught in the mag well. That did cost me some time on my last stage, unfortunately. Crap. So, can USPSA and Airsoft get along? I say they can. They both put the individual in an environment where they have to engage targets, employ ideal weapon manipulation, good reloads, and some good footwork. I mean, there's obviously disconnects, but both focus on different areas that can help you with training. USPSA is about getting that weapon manipulation and getting on target and focusing on those skills. And Airsoft kind of just throws you into a less predictable environment where you have to use cover a bit better. Our mockingbird is mad. Her nest is right here. So if you're an Airsoft guy, I really recommend that you get into competitive shooting, or at least try it out. I had a ton of fun and learned a lot of new skills, and just as I've said before, straight out fun. I definitely have to give a shout out to the OSU practical shooting team for welcoming me into their ranks and teaching me a lot of new skills. I'm definitely hooked on competitive shooting and want to do more matches. Now, if you're a gun guy, I gotta say, get into Airsoft, go try it. You've already got the kit. Just go have some fun. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you want to see more content like that, like this, comment down below, let us know. I'm Copperhead, signing out.